Wow, I can't believe it. It's January 2nd, 2023. It is a new year. Happy New Year. It's bizarre. I still can't wrap my head around the fact that we're in the 2020s now, but I'm really excited because it is going to be a fantastic year. I hope you guys had a great New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. You went crazy, didn't get too drunk. Let's do this podcast.
This isn't another fishing podcast. This is another fishing podcast.
All right, well, we're going to do something a little bit different this year. I am going to, number one, be more consistent. That is my New Year's resolution. And so the plan this year, and I'm sure if you've followed me for any length of time, Angling Uploaded, another fishing show, another fishing podcast, you know that consistency has been a bit of a struggle here. But I am deeply, deeply working on that. And I've got great news. We've got, first of all, this podcast is happening right now, but I've got a video coming up on the Angling Uploaded YouTube channel, which you need to check out. That's kind of just in case you've just stumbled upon this podcast and you're wondering what the heck is going on here. So what we're doing here, we have an umbrella called Angling Uploaded, and we got a bunch of stuff under that umbrella, such as another fishing show, another fishing podcast, which is what you're listening to right now, and some just more, I don't want to say basic videos. We put a lot of work in the basic videos as well, but another fishing show and another fishing podcast are really kind of our flagship, let's say it's our flagship content. So we spend a lot of time on that content, but we also do some more simple videos, and I try to do those more simple kind of fishing videos. We're going to try to do that on Fridays from now on. So Mondays, podcasts. Wednesdays, we're also going to be doing videos. So I'm going to talk about this a little bit more in depth soon here, a little bit after I get through some other stuff here, but kind of towards the end of the podcast. But we're going to be doing underwater videos on Wednesdays. I have got, wait till you see this. I have got, if you're watching the video podcast, which if you're listening to this on audio, you can also watch the video podcast on YouTube. Go to Angling Uploaded, search Angling Uploaded, and you can find the video podcast of what you're listening to right now. But so to see, go to Angling Uploaded. Just type that into YouTube and you'll be able to see what the heck I'm talking about today. So this, Happy New Year, number one, here it is. This is my wife and I, we had some friends over yesterday and partying and had the Vikings game on outside. Wonderful fire there. And the Vikings absolutely got crushed. What a disaster, 40-something to 3. But some wonderful friends joined us there, Patrick and Diana. And it was a nice way to bring in the new year. It was a nice New Year's Day. Vikings game was absolutely atrocious, though. I'm not surprised. I'm a Twins fan. So Vikings, I've just been disappointed way too much with the Vikings to be really, really, locked into being a Vikings fan. So Twins fan, yes. Vikings fan, not so much. But, so underwater videos, by the way, let's get back to that. So I'm going to be doing underwater videos on Wednesdays. Wednesdays it's going to be sort of, let's call it a miscellaneous video day. But I really want to do a lot of underwater videos on Wednesdays, right? So I got this tank. Wait till you see this. I think you're going to like it. This is a used tank that I bought a while back. When I bought it, it was just full of algae, and it actually, it at the time was at a aquarium shop. in the Twin Cities here in Minnesota. And when I looked at it, I'm like, well, that's going to take a lot of cleaning because it was just full of algae and caked on stuff, and it had live plants in there and fish. It was actually a really cool setup, but the dimensions were right. This is a 90-gallon tank. It's square. I wanted a tank like this to do underwater videos of lures. And I needed enough distance from the camera. Basically, I just needed a big enough tank to allow me to get close in on lures and really obscure that background. It's in the business, we call that shallow depth of field. So you can just get everything out of focus in the background, and it really makes that lure or whatever you're filming really pop and really highlights it very well. So this tank fit the bill. I'm really excited. Going to be using a black backdrop. At first, I was going to thinking a white backdrop would be better. But I've seen more underwater videos. I've seen like Northland Fishing Tackle's done some underwater videos showcasing their lures, and I really liked how that looked as opposed to a white background. A white background could work too, but I like that black background. That black background kind of is more natural. It's something that you would, see naturally. As far as just blackness in the background of a lake or something like that, whereas white isn't that natural. I just like the aesthetics of it more. So went with the black backdrop, but that's my setup there. A little bit of do-it-yourself action there with a PVC pipe to get the lure exactly centered in the tank where I want it. Going to be doing a lot of vertical presentations with it, primarily, but we'll see how it goes. I really see this being really something that's going to work well for ice fishing demonstrations. Obviously, ice fishing is a vertical presentation down, so that tank is really going to work well for that. I will also do some just kind of bottom presentations, bottom bouncing presentations, jigs, bass jigs. I'm going to mess around and try to do different things with it. But I think that tank is really going to shine for vertical presentations primarily. But there will be some like horizontal bottom bouncing presentations that I think will work well also. So I'm excited to share that with you. I'll go in a little bit more detail about what's coming up too with that. I got a video posting on Wednesday this week, and then another video posting on Friday. So we'll get into that. But biggest news is just, consistency here at Angling Uploaded. Another fishing podcast. We're going to be doing those on Mondays. And obviously, hey, you're noticing something different here as well. I do not have a guest. I love having guests, and it can just be, as far as consistency, it's harder to get guests, and to be consistent, I think I need to be able to do this alone comfortably and have guests when I can have guests on. So I really enjoy that aspect of podcasting, having guests. But that's the situation. Be consistent. I'm going to have to do these just by my lonesome here. But also, we got to get Pete Wagner, another fishing show co-host, back into this. So he's co-hosting me again, podcasting. So what I want you to do, I'm also going to bring this up at the end of this podcast. I want you to go to, and I'm going to bring this up right here. I've said this before on podcasting. I'm actually directing. I'm using this Ecamm Live software that allows me to, for the video podcast, show you all these different shots, these different videos. Eventually, I want to show some videos, but right now, just different still photos, things like that. But the software that I'm using, I have to do it by myself, and I'm pretty much a one-man band here, so I'm actually directing, like what shots need to come up here. Whereas, if you're a really highfalutin outfit, you've got a person that's doing all this. But that person is me. So it shows you how big of an outfit this is. But let's see here. I want people to reach out to us, and if you've missed Pete Wagner like I've missed Pete Wagner, we need to get Pete back on this podcast, okay? So he's been busy with family. He's got 2 kids. He's got a very stressful business he runs, and he's also in a band, but we want him to make a commitment, okay? We got to be really nice. We know the talent that Pete has, and we know the value that he brings to this podcast. So we want him back. So what I'm asking you to do is email Angling Uploaded, okay? And I'm going to give you the email here real quick like. Okay, it is anglinguploaded@gmail.com. All right. If you're watching the video podcast, that's it. I'm pointing to it right now. All right. Send me an email at anglinguploaded@gmail.com that tells you how much you miss Pete on this podcast. Okay? Pete Wagner, another fishing podcast co-host. That's what he's supposed to be. He's the co-host of another fishing show, the beloved Another Fishing Show, which I still got raw footage that needs to be edited into a show. I got a catfish episode that's been, I've had it like, it's honestly, it's been there's just a lot of footage. I need to get to it, but it would be a great show. Pete's in there. We've been doing Another Fishing Show for a long time now. And, Pete is integral to this, okay? The show and the podcast. So we want Pete back on this podcast. anglinguploaded@gmail.com. Send me an email telling me how much you miss Pete. Just say it to Pete directly, okay? And I will forward it to his personal email, okay? We want him back. We're gonna, this 2023 is going to be the year that we get Pete back on this podcast, okay? I sorely missed the guy. So I thought that was important. I'm going to, give him another shout out, if you will. I don't know. I want the guy back. So at the end of this podcast, I'm going to remind you guys again to send me an email, anglinguploaded@gmail.com. Send me an email. Tell me how much you miss him. Tell him how much you miss him and that you want him back on this podcast. All right? Okay. So is there anything else going on? I had a great Christmas. Hope you guys had a great Christmas. Oh, goodness. The lake, I live out on a lake right here, and we've had conditions that are not ideal. This is a shallow body of water, and tomorrow we're going to have to start actually aerating the lake. So that's a real stressful thing to have to do, because what's happening is, if you're not from an area where lakes freeze, what happens is your lake, you're in the northern latitudes, a lake will freeze if it's a smaller body of water. Lakes are more susceptible to this, but you can have what's known as a winter kill. So what a winter kill is a lake, the lake freezes, right? And then oftentimes if you have snow that gets on top of the ice, there's no light penetration. None of the remaining green weeds are, they're not able any longer to produce oxygen. So there's a depletion of oxygen, no light penetration because of the snow cover. And then it just kind of spirals downhill. And what will happen, the DNR, Department of Natural Resources, they'll send a guy out to all these lakes, these smaller lakes that are prone to winter kill, and they'll test with an oxygen meter how the levels are doing. And if the levels start tanking, well, they we have an association here, a lake association, and if the levels start tanking, they let the association know, hey, you're going to have to start aerating. And how you do that, it's really quite a process. I'm kind of debating maybe I'll do a video of it I don't know yet, but let me know if you think that would be interesting to do a video of how you aerate a lake, so to prevent it from winter killing. But so you have a depletion of oxygen. What happens is you got to go out and drill holes, right? You kind of drill holes on like certain feet apart. Let's say 4 feet. I think we kind of keep them 3 to 4 feet apart. Drill 4 holes. And then you have an ice saw. You drill your holes, you have an ice saw, and you kind of basically connect those holes. That makes essentially like a big ice cube. And you push that ice cube and you push it all the way under the ice, get it out of there. You place a pump, which is essentially a propeller that's on a plastic. It's like a plastic float, almost looks like a floating dock. You place that in the hole, the square, the 4 by, I guess it would be a 4x4 square, is that right? What you just cut out of the ice. You put your plastic, your dock, floating dock that has right in the middle of it has a propeller, and that's hooked up to electricity. You get that thing going, and that pump, that water that gets circulated, that propeller's pushing, that water gets pushed under the ice. It begins eroding the ice. It makes a bigger hole. And then that's actually how you aerate a lake that is prone to winter killing. Just the process of opening up the lake, right? That ice eroding and the lake becoming exposed to the atmosphere, that's what actually provides oxygen to the lake. And then once the surface is essentially it's absorbing that oxygen from the atmosphere, that pump then too, that current you've now got moving under the ice helps to get just the lake in general, kind of that oxygen circulated throughout the lake. So that's how that works. That's what I'll be doing tomorrow morning. That's what's been going on in my life. New Year's Eve, New Year's Eve parties, Christmas parties, New Year's Eve parties, New Year's Day parties, and aerating a lake. I may even try to finally go ice fishing this week. So I'm excited about that. And let's see. So let's just go into it. Angling Uploaded news, a little bit more there. So I'm trying this because this is a new thing, just me doing this all by my lonesome. I've come up with kind of a rundown, a game plan for the show. So if you see the video podcast, I'm looking down. That's what I'm doing right here. That to me, December 2022. It's been good. Finished up the last, was actually doing, did this really exciting series for Major League Fishing, team series. So these anglers are now in teams of 3. These top bass anglers in teams of 3 are going against other teams of bass fishermen. So that's a Major League Fishing team series that I started filming this fall and wrapped up in Florida in December. So watch for that. They'll be advertising that. In fact, I think the first one just starts in January, beginning of January. So watch for those. It's what I've enjoyed about doing those is that you're seeing dialogue and conversation between anglers that you've never seen before, and you're seeing teamwork and describing how to do something like you've never seen before. Because these anglers, they're on a team, they're fishing for $300,000. They're trying to get their teammates to do something that's working for them, right? So they're in a different area of the lake and they're fishing a certain way. What I've noticed is a lot of these anglers have their own kind of style and their own specific patterns that they want to try to do. Let's say presentations is a better way to put it. They have their own skill set that they really want to do before anything else, right? So what I've noticed about this team series, which is cool, because in the morning they have a little powwow session before they start the day's competition. The team members get together and kind of figure out a game plan, what they're going to do, at least for that first period of the day. And it's interesting because what they're doing is most times they go, you go this first period. They don't even know the lake, never been to the lake before. Let's just go out and do what our strengths are, right? So you have like maybe one guy's great at throwing a chatterbait, and another guy's a great jig fisherman. What's interesting is they kind of just go out and they try to figure out what's going on using their the thing that they're most comfortable doing. And then what's fun is you see who starts catching them and then seeing how that person is describing what they're doing to their teammate to get them on the right track. So that's something that I've not seen in fishing before. And the fact that you have, $300,000 on the line, sometimes, it can get a little testy. If an angler's not doing, if a teammate isn't doing what he's supposed to be doing or not doing it right, you're also seeing that aspect. So as a fan of fishing, to be in the back of the boat and seeing this dialogue, filming this team series this fall has really been fun to see just that in the sport of bass fishing, because I haven't seen that before. So you're seeing something totally unique there. And the other thing I just like most fishermen, I want to get into the specifics of what these, anglers are doing to catch their fish. And the way that these anglers, how they're describing what they're doing, you get really into the meat and potatoes of patterns and presentations. And it's fun to see these anglers work together. You see a lot of great camaraderie, which is really fun too about this series. So check it out. Just type in, go to majorleaguefishing.com and you'll be able to figure out where it'll air, what time, and all that stuff. So that's what I've been doing this fall. Ended in December with the last the championship, the Team Series Championship. So it's been a great December. Been a interesting, let's put it that way, 2022. Hopefully 2023 is going to be a great year. I know there's a lot going on in the world. We're going to keep it just fishing related and positive. Okay. So that's my resolution. Positivity. Let's try it again. Positivity and consistency. Positivity, consistency for 2023. And here we go. So for Angling Uploaded, expect on Mondays we'll put up on our YouTube channel, Angling Uploaded, the YouTube channel. We're going to put up the podcast, the video podcast at 5 p.m. That's also going to go out to all the podcast apps as well, 5 p.m. And then underwater videos. We're going to put them up on Wednesdays, Underwater Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Also going to kind of make Wednesdays sort of a miscellaneous day. Might do live videos also on Wednesdays. If I do a live video, it'll be on Wednesdays. Wednesdays, I want to be kind of the miscellaneous day. Might, do some reloaded episodes maybe you haven't seen, taken from another fishing show, that YouTube channel that we're kind of retiring, the Another Fishing Show channel, and bringing everything over to the Angling Uploaded channel. So might do some reloaded episodes on Wednesdays, but primarily I want to make Wednesdays underwater video days. So underwater Wednesdays primarily, but that's the plan there. Let's see, and then on Fridays, Fishing Fridays. So it's going to be fishing videos on Fridays. I I have a real, and I've talked about this at length in the past, I have a real problem with being very nitpicky. I have obsessive compulsive disorder to a certain extent. I have a moderate case of obsessive compulsive disorder, if I'm being quite honest. When I do a video, I get real thick into the weeds, man. Everything, I come from a television production background. I've been doing this for 22 years, and it's ingrained in you that, the audio's got to be perfect, hammered into you that the video, the colors and the saturation and this and that, and everything's got to be perfect. So YouTube, just internet in general, no, it doesn't have to be perfect, Greg. Just relax, get a video out, let people get something obviously out of the video, but it doesn't have to be this perfect, what you think is a masterpiece put out there. So Fridays are going to be, sometimes they're going to be a more simple video. For consistency, that needs to be the case. But once in a while, I want to, when I say a simple video, just primarily using one camera, not worried about color correction or audio mixing, getting away from that and just getting a video out that conveys a message you're able to possibly learn something from. That is really the importance of YouTube and social media just in general, is to, get videos out, be consistent, and make videos that people get value from. So Fridays, fishing videos, and I also want to do, on occasion, quarterly is the goal. I want to get to a point where another fishing show episodes, if you've ever seen another fishing show, those episodes take a lot of work. I put a lot of love and care into those episodes. I still want to do another fishing show, but the trick there has been how often can I do those? So the goal there is to do quarterly another fishing show episodes. And if you don't know what another fishing show is really our flagship show on Angling Uploaded. And so what another fishing show is, it's two guys, it's Pete Wagner and myself, best friends for as long as I can remember. And it's funny, a lot of people get into fishing because their dad got them into fishing or their grandpa got them into fishing. Pete, we got ourselves into fishing. Our friendship allowed fishing to enter our life, basically. So we are fishing friends like that. I mean, that's an understatement. And so what another fishing show is, what I've tried to do with another fishing show, I really wanted to make it kind of like it's a buddy fishing show, right? It's like everybody can relate to that. If you're a fisherman, you've got that buddy, you've got friendships from fishing that, and if you're lucky enough, you've got long friendships. Or maybe you have a friendship very similar to the friendship that I have with Pete, where there's a ton of history there, and there's so many stories, that we can go through. I really wanted, in many ways, for another fishing show to be an homage to fishing in general, but also to fishing friendships. So that's the goal of another fishing show. It's kind of off the wall, just to every man, kind of what's the way to describe it? I've done this show I've been tinkering with this show forever. I should have a better way to describe it, but it's just two regular dudes, and we're fishing places that are more accessible to regular dudes. But what's more important, fishing is obviously central to it, and is super important. But what's maybe equally important is just the nonsense that happens on the way to a fishing trip, on the road, at the convenience store, at the gas station, things that go wrong, funny things that happen along the way, the banter back and forth between Pete and I, or people, that we meet on the lake, or, at the bait shop. That's what another fishing show is. I wanted a light show, didn't take itself too seriously, but it shows, the essence of maybe why, maybe not why you get into fishing for the first point, for the first part, because Pete and I got into fishing because it was really, really exciting to catch a fish, and it's still really, really exciting to catch a fish. But it's also all those other things with fishing too that make fishing so fantastic. The friendships, the people you meet along the way, the adventures along the way, the adventures on the water that don't even have anything to do with actually hooking a fish. But of course, hooking the fish, trying to figure out the fish, all that plays an important role in fishing as well. So I just wanted to do a show that encapsulated the things that make fishing so important to me, and so that's why I've spent so much. I work so hard on those episodes, and why I consider it the flagship of Angling Uploaded. So. That's going to be, we're going to do shows like that on Fridays, and, also more, simple shows, fishing related, fishing. So another fishing show, those will be on Fridays. I want to do those quarterly. So I'm going to aim for, and I don't know if I can do it this year. I'm going to try to do 2 or 3 episodes this year, but eventually, I want to get into doing 4 another fishing show episodes a year. So that's spring, so quarterly basically. So spring, summer, fall, and winter. And that's the plan for those. And then, so that's fishing Fridays, we'll call it. So Mondays, podcasting Mondays. I can't maybe come up with a better, catchier title than that. But Wednesdays, Underwater Wednesdays, and Fishing Fridays. And in between all that, we're going to have short videos popping up. Shorts. YouTube loves the shorts. Here's a tip, guys. If you're starting a YouTube channel or struggling like I've been since I started a YouTube channel, shorts seem to be where it's at. So what a short is on YouTube, it's like Instagram Reels or Facebook Reels or stories, whatever. It's vertical video. So how you would look, holding your phone just regularly, looking at a video that way, and just short 1-minute clips. YouTube's really putting those videos out well. But it's also kind of fun to be able just to put a short little piece of content up on YouTube for people to see that maybe they haven't seen from a longer form video that I've done. So I'm going to put the short content kind of mixed throughout the week, and that'll be from videos that I've done in the past and videos, that are currently up. So that is Angling Uploaded news, and let's get into kind of some stuff that's happening in the fishing world right now. And I am a big fan. If you guys have not checked out Brett McComas over at Target Walleye. Okay, so it's a newsletter, Target Walleye. Brett McComas is the guy behind it. All things walleye fishing and ice fishing. So once hard water comes on the scene, then it becomes kind of a walleye / ice fishing media outlet. So big fan of Target Walleye and Brett McComas, so check him out. I believe it's targetwalleye.com. if I'm not mistaken, but just search Target Walleye. You'll check, they got a great, go search Google Target Walleye, check out their website, and then get on their newsletter. It's a great source of information, and Brett's a funny dude, so a lot of there's a humor in that as well. It's valuable piece of media for you to check out. Target Walleye, piece of media, whatever. TargetWalleye.com. Check it out. So that's what we're going to get into right here. This first story from Target Walleye, and it is: would you ice fish with a topwater frog? And this is Brett here. He says, I'm not saying you should, but I'm definitely not saying you shouldn't. And this is pretty crazy, right? So there's guys that are ice fishing with these live target topwater lures that look like leopard frogs. And let me just read this. This is Brett from Target Walleye. If you remember this post on targetwalleye.com, you know folks have been using frogs to catch open water walleyes for decades. So anyway, he's got a link to an older Target Walleye article about guys catching frogs in open water, or guys using frogs in open water to catch walleyes. But a couple seasons ago was the first time I had ever seen anyone specifically target frog eaters through the ice. And this is from Brewer Agri Outdoors. And these guys are, this is a quote from one of the guys from Brewer Agri Outdoors. He says, turn those topwater frogs into some hibernating frogs with a bell sinker. You weight it down. I'll show you a picture here shortly. You weight the bell sinker. You put a bell sinker basically at the eye of the topwater frog here, the live target frog. And you bounce it on the bottom and wait for the walleyes and pike to come pick it up as an easy target. So pretty wild stuff here. And this is what it looks like. So that's a live target frog. And that one, it's actually two live target frogs that they're using for this. That one frog at the top there is a longer, just hard plastic frog. And, you know, it's got two treble hooks on it. And that frog is meant to walk on top of the water like a Zara spook. So it's a walking bait. And then that bottom frog, I think it's just it's the same kind of principle. It's just a smaller version of that. It probably has a little bit different action, but it too is kind of a walking bait. It kind of zigs and zags on the top of the water. And you'll notice both of those, if you're watching the audio podcast, that both of those have bell sinkers connected to the eye of the bait. And you can also kind of see how it floats. It basically just floats so the tail is or the legs, the back of the bait is straight up. So it's pretty interesting. I know that here's a shot, really nice walleye caught with that live target topwater walking bait. I don't know it's a walking bait. It's that topwater frog that live target has, that you can walk. So this is a guy holding a very nice walleye. I believe this walleye was caught in Manitoba. So the proof is in the pudding. It also, I imagine, there's a lot of giant walleye in Manitoba. So, eaters, little smaller walleyes, I don't know how effective this presentation could be, especially with a bait that big, with that larger topwater frog there. But I don't know. You never know. Even smaller ones might make an attempt at it. But yeah, I could definitely see like a trophy walleye lake, this being a presentation, because I have learned, and I actually did a video. Let's get into this first here. Let's just kind of show you too in the past. In the past here, Target Walleye has shown this on, on their newsletter in the past of how guys have cut open walleyes and their stomachs have been absolutely full of leopard frogs. And this picture I'm showing right here, Brett says in this post, happens more often than you'd think, and sometimes in way bigger quantities. And this is he says, remember this wild shot of a fall walleye getting its frogger on, and you wonder why they won't eat your fathead. So they're just, there's basically just, there's a picture of just a ton of frogs. I mean, I'm looking like probably at least a dozen frogs that were taken out of one walleye's stomach. So when you see a picture like that, there's no doubt that walleye is targeting. I mean, that's a significant source of food for that walleye. And that's something that walleye probably does every year. So what my understanding is, what happens is, and I don't want to forget any other pictures here. Here's another picture. Here's another picture of a walleye with a big frog. Basically a filleted walleye. Stomach contents has a frog. So it's apparent that, walleyes are basically, they're not messing around. They are eating leopard frogs. And so what happens is in the fall, and I know a guy actually on the lake I live on, he's a good friend of mine, great walleye fisherman. What happens, and he said this many times, and I've heard from other people in this area, I live in Minnesota, but what happens is in the fall, probably happens around mid-fall here to late fall, leopard frogs, in the summertime, they're kind of, amphibians need to be, especially leopard frogs, right? They need to have their skin moist, so they can't, stray away from water too far. But they can, if the vegetation, the grass is keeping moist, they can travel quite a distance, even if there hasn't been, I would say if it's a drought situation where you live, that those leopard frogs are not going to be traveling as far. I don't know this for sure. This is just speculation. But if you're having a wetter season, I would imagine leopard frogs would move away from, the lake or river. Will move. Let's put it this way: a leopard frog will move away from a lake or river farther in a wet year than a dry year, right? So, but my point is that leopard frogs do move away they will venture out away from their kind of residential body of water. I don't know if they're doing it to mate, or if they're doing it just for food, they're doing it to lay eggs, but they will move away from the water. Okay. And so what happens is in the fall, they'll start transitioning and moving back into the lake or the river that they're at. This probably makes more sense. Well, lakes particularly. And the reason I say that, so in the fall, they've got to move in the mid to late fall, they got to start moving into a body of water, because that's how they hibernate. Leopard frogs, they actually get back into the water and they get into the mud, okay? And then they hibernate. They basically just shut down. So when the frogs are doing that, making that, that pilgrimage, if you will, back to the water to hibernate, there is a bite that happens. It happens with it happens with bass. It happened, with smallmouth in particular. I know that this bite happens on the Mississippi River. Anytime the frogs need to get back to the water, whether it be a river or a lake, this bite seems to happen. It happens on lakes. And so there's some kind of like the fish kind of know that this transition is happening, that this migration is happening. So you can really get good in a hurry, is my point in this. And I actually tried to do a video capitalizing on this bite, but I was there way too early. I went to a little tributary of the Mississippi River in the fall, and tried to do this, tried to capitalize on this leopard frog migration bite, specifically for walleyes that occur in the fall, and it didn't happen. But it's kind of funny. I did a video, and I titled it. If you want to check this video out and see intentions gone completely the wrong way, I intended to make a fall walleye frog bite video, but it turned into a fall walleye trip becomes smallmouth smash fest video. And I caught the heck out of smallmouth, but they weren't, like, when this bite happens, the fish really get super keyed up into, like, on the bank, right? They're focused on the bank because that's where the frogs are coming in. And so I was told that for the walleyes, man, you can get really shallow and target them shallow because they're feeding up on, these frogs. Well, I was too early in the fall for it, but I did have a heck of a day catching smallmouth. But they weren't actually even really related to the bank. They were still in kind of their summer patterns. But either way, I was trying to get on that frog migration bite, and it turned into a crazy smallmouth smash fest bite, which I'm not complaining. But my point in all of this is just the fact that it doesn't surprise me that walleyes are gorging themselves on frogs. And it's not surprising that they're doing it at first ice. Who knows how long they do it for? But if those frogs, are what appears is going on here with these walleyes under the ice is that they're actually, whether these fish are, I think what's going on is these walleyes are targeting these leopard frogs that are hibernating in the mud. And those leopard frogs are super lethargic. They're not moving very much at all. They can't, these are cold-blooded creatures that are not really fond of 32-degree water. So they're really, I think, susceptible to get eaten. And I think that's what these walleyes are doing under the ice. That frog migration occurs in the fall. They're tapping into that in open water, and then they're still keyed into it, know what these frogs are doing when it gets into the winter and these frogs begin hibernating. So that's what it appears like to me, and it's pretty cool, to think that that's happening on some bodies of water, not just in Canada. So something to think about. I think, I thought it was pretty cool and thought I'd bring it up to you. What else is going on in the world? Let's change more over to the world of bass fishing. And I know some people consider bass to be green carp. I don't think so. This is a multi-species podcast. Angling Uploaded is multi-species. So we try to kind of cover all the bases, like to, fish for everything. But the bat, if you don't know anything about me, I was eaten up with bass fishing as a kid. I'm still eaten up with it. I love bass fishing. So it's still a very important part of my life. I film Major League Fishing events. So I'm like in the back seat of what's the good way? I'm on the front row. Let's put it that way of professional bass fishing competition. So as a fan, it's a great gig to have. I've been eaten up with bass fishing for a long time. So I kind of we'll focus on bass fishing here. We'll focus on walleye fishing. But we'll even get into some different, more, catfishing obviously is a big thing that we talk a lot about here. But even sturgeon fishing, burbot, There's a lot of cool things happening in freshwater fishing. Heck, who knows? We might even do some more saltwater fishing. We've done some in the past, but we're certainly not opposed to it. But this is a multi-species. What we cover here is a lot of multi-species freshwater fishing related content. And so on the bass side of things right here, what I thought was interesting is that, what I was going to say, as a kid, I actually wanted to be a professional bass fisherman. So I've this stuff I have a long history with in the loving, let's just say that, loving bass fishing and the sport of bass fishing. So one thing, this comes from Bass Blaster and Jay Kumar. Jay Kumar is the guy that runs Bass Blaster. And there is a new bass tub in town, and Jacob Wheeler designed it. So I love bass boats. My first real kind of fishing boat was a bass. Well, my first fishing boat was actually it was a 14-foot tri-hull. It was actually, I think it was a Glastron. It wasn't really a bass boat necessarily. I had to kind of do some do-it-yourself stuff to make it into a bass boat. But my first real fishing boat was a bass boat, and so I have a real. I just love bass boats. They're fast. They're the platform, the bow deck, and just that big bow deck, just the deck, the fishing decks in general. I love the fishing platform. I think a bass boat for a fishing platform is just awesome, and all the stuff that you can now put on them. It's an amazing fishing machine. So when I hear that a new bass boat's coming online, a new bass boat is coming on the market, it's exciting to me. So this reported by Bass Blaster, specifically Jay Kumar. There's a new bass tub in town, and Jacob Wheeler designed it. Jacob made the announcement on his social that I'm building my own bass boat. Jay Kumar, of course, this is him saying this. I thought either he's made a whole lot more money than anyone thought. He does not come from money, supposedly Jay's saying here in parentheses. Or he's got partners, or he's full on crazy. Possibly all three. But the deal is Jacob designed a boat under a new brand called Icon. And that is spelled I-K-O-N. And the boats are being built, and in parentheses he's saying, I'm guessing owned by HCB Yachts. Hadn't heard of HCB, but their website says they build center console yachts, like 65 foot long with 4 big motors on the back. So yeah, boat is different. The first thing that I see, I'm looking at an overhead view of the boat, is that, and the first thing that I immediately like is that it's got a huge front deck. And the front deck, what's interesting about it is, how can I describe this? Right at the console, from the front of the console forward, you're looking at the whole, half of the boat is basically, it looks like even a little bit more, it looks like more than half of the boat is bow deck. And that's pretty impressive. And the other impressive thing that I'm seeing here too is that it's from the console forward. So you start at the console, it's wider. Like it actually even comes out from the transom, from the back of the boat. So what I'm saying is the front becomes wider at the console as opposed to how wide it is on the back of the boat. So the beam at the back of the boat is narrower than the beam at the console, where the bow starts, where the bow deck begins. So you have the bow actually starting at the console becomes wider, right? And then about halfway, a little less than halfway, going to the front of the bow, it becomes less wide. But I'm kind of, hopefully you'll understand this. But if you're only listening to the audio podcast, you'll see it in the video podcast that the bow is just wider. It becomes wider at the console. The whole boat becomes wider at the console to make a bigger front deck. And that's really exciting. I'm interested to see just what that looks like at different angles. But from the top view down, the bird's eye view, if you will, that's really unique. The other thing I'm seeing too, the seats look totally different. The seats look almost like they're sports seats. They look like they've been designed to handle rough conditions. Maybe there's some kind of a support system there. With hydraulics there, but I'm sure this is going to be an impressive boat. Just the layout, the storage layout makes like it looks logical as far as seeing where latches are and where storage is. I like big storage, and this boat seems to have it. So that's impressive from that view. And again, going on here, a little bit more copy from this Bass Blaster piece. The Bass Boat connection here is that HCB stands for Hydrosport Custom Boats, which anybody knows back in the day, Hydrosports was a pretty common bass boat, and then they just stopped making them. So they're back in the game, it would appear. So the Bass Boat connection, is the same with the Tennessee company. Okay, so the Bass Boat connection here is that HCB stands for Hydrosport Custom Boats, as in the same Tennessee company that started as Hydrosport Bass Boats. I see. So that's right. So Hydrosport Bass Boats, and that history goes back a ways. So the HCB Yachts, formerly known as Hydrosports, actually began in the 1970s as a bass boat company in Tennessee after being purchased and repositioned in the 2000s by now CEO Elias De La Torre III. The company now focuses on creating exceptional quality yachts on a low volume level. And Jay Kumar says in this article, guessing from that, maybe the bass boat will be the same. High price, low volume. Seems like this boat is also based in Tennessee, just like Jacob Wheeler. So just the fact that there's no one hotter on the bass boat or just bass fishing scene in general than Jacob Wheeler right now. And the fact that he's designing this boat is going to be really, really impressive. Everything that Jacob does, I've spent a lot of time with Jacob. He's very meticulous. He spends a ton of, he's focused on everything. Another great, obviously, Kevin Van Dam. I noticed working with him through the years, very, very same kind of discipline, right? So everything is just very, very well thought out in everything that these two individuals do. So I'm excited that Jacob Wheeler is designing this boat. You can get into whether you think that this, but I don't know how expensive this boat is going to be. There's a lot of expensive boats out there now for bass boats. The Vexus is a very expensive boat. All of them are expensive. When it gets right down to it. Why I've been such a fan, maybe fan is too strong a word. Why I have tracker boats. Number one, I have a Sun Tracker pontoon. I know these sound, I'm not trying to brag here. I hate Just the fact, I feel like I've made it in the fact I have 2 boats, right? But I have a Sun Tracker pontoon and I have a Tracker Targa V18, right? I feel like the only way that I was able to afford those 2 boats is because that they were priced more reasonable than a lot of stuff that's out there. So that's why I really I praise what Tracker, Bass Pro Shops, Tracker Marine, what they've done. Just in that they've tried to make it so that their boat brands, or at least the Tracker boat brand, even the Nitro boat brands, their boat brand, they're more economically priced. Let's put it that. It's still expensive, but when you look at the other boats out there, they're more affordable. So I've really appreciated that about Tracker, and that's why I'm in Tracker boats. But I'm a boat fan. I love boats, so it's exciting to me to see what they're coming out with. And even if they're expensive, I have mixed feelings about that. I think we need to be careful that this stuff doesn't, we only have expensive options. So the fact that Tracker's doing what they're doing, I think is important. Other boat brands, I would hope we still have a number of boat manufacturers that are still making stuff, still making boats that, are more accessible to the everyday angler. But with that being said, it's still fun to see what's happening in the technology that's being advanced in bass boats and just fishing boats in general. Who knows how expensive this new boat that Jacob Wheeler's working on, how expensive it's going to be. But I'm excited what kind of innovations that they're going to have in this boat. So looking at this boat here on this, side view, I don't know. It's going to be, it looks pretty, you can't see much going on here in this particular shot. It's closer to level with the boat, parallel with it, and looking at it from the side, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And it looks from this view looks like a standard bass boat, really. Nothing too fancy there. You do have some neon kind of lights to illuminate, in low level or low light conditions. You have some neon LED lights, I should say. It looks like you have one on the transom, one on the back deck, 2 on the bow deck to kind of help to just illuminate the decks in low light. But it's kind of silhouetted. It's not easy to see really the lines of the boat here in this picture, but it should be cool to see what they've got going on here with this new boat. So it's always exciting to see new boats come online, new techniques, new equipment. I love it all. It's a new year, so who knows what kind of technology is going to be happening. Forward-facing sonar. What more could be done in electronics? But there will be more happening. So very excited to see what will surface in 2023. And I wanted to. This is kind of something that Jay Kumar mentioned, and that I'd be interested in hearing what you guys think on this. He had made a list in the most recent Bass Blaster. Bass. Let me try this again. I can't even. It's not easy to say this. It's not easy to say Bass Blaster. Evidently. Let's see here. Bass Blaster. So he mentioned this in the newsletter. The Bass Blaster. You can go to bassblaster.com to see their website, which is a great website, but also they have a newsletter and email. So I would recommend you get on that email list. But so he, on his last newsletter, email, what do we call these? Newsletter emails. He kind of put a wish list together for 2023. And number 4 on his wish list, what he'd like to see in the fishing industry, I think I agree with. So what do you guys think? This is what he says. Have electronics. Oh, this is what he thinks should happen, okay, in fishing tournaments. And I think I might agree. So he says have, number 4 in his list of wants to see in the world in 2023, have electronics classes. Classes like not like a school class, but like you're organized in classes, you know? Like think of Top Fuel funny cars or racing, like, you know, motor racing, something like that. Have electronics classes in tourneys. Amateur tournament trails, I think, need to have different electronics classes. At least 2. A forward-facing sonar guys, so there's a class for those guys, and then a non-forward-facing guys class. So guys that have forward-facing sonar, they're in a class, and there's a class for people that don't have forward-facing sonars. They compete in a different class. There's nothing, so Jay says, there's nothing wrong with forward-facing sonar, but not everyone can afford $10,000 of electronics, batteries, and not everyone wants to have to fish that way. And we need our tournament guys to still fish and kids from modest means to be able to compete. So this kind of goes back to that, you know, expensive bass boat, right? I kind of feel the same way with just that, you know, classes, as Jay's referring to them. I kind of feel that way just in general with a lot of things in tournaments, with people getting into the sport, let's say high school fishing, maybe even college fishing. Definitely high school fishing. I think I would really advocate for this happening in college too. I think in a perfect world, what you should have are tiers, okay? Jay Kumar is calling it classes. I'm going to call them tiers. And in each tier, let's just say in high school, right? But you can do this in college too. You could almost have like a kayak tier where you can only fish out of a kayak, and maybe you allow trolling motors, but you know, that's it. You know, and a fish finder. So you get one fish finder, one trolling motor, and you're fishing on a kayak. So that's a tier, right? The next tier could be just an aluminum boats tier, right? And maybe that tier is 17 foot to maybe 18 foot is your maximum for that tier. Has to be aluminum boat, or you make it it's just a length thing. So maybe it's 17 or 18 feet. So maybe it's just, you can have a fiberglass boat too, but it can only be 18 feet at the most. And it's 150 horsepower at the most. Maybe you even make it a lesser horsepower, but you have that tier, right? And that tier can have, you're only allowed a certain type of electronics on that tier. All right. The next tier, and maybe this tier is, this is the most sophisticated tier, and you've had to work your way up to this tier. But that's the 21 foot bass boat with a 200, 250, outboard on the back with all the bells and whistles on it. But that is the very upper echelon of tiers. Like, you've had to work your way up to that tier, prove yourself. To me, just the fishing industry, like tournaments need that. Like my fear is that because tournament fishing is so expensive, the entry fees, the equipment, there isn't another sport where the outlay of funds needed to compete. There's no other sport like bass fishing, Even walleye fishing is the same way. That where you have to have, the boat, the equipment, if you're a great basketball player, all you need is a basket and a ball, right? So, and you could, I mean, I'm being a little bit simplistic, but same even with golfing. You don't have to go to the most amazing golf course, right? There's plenty of public golf courses. Get some clubs and you're off golfing. With fishing, you need rods and reels and lures and a boat and the net, and on and on and on, right? So, and then to compete, it's the entry fees, and then it's the gas, and then it's the lodging. So it's out of control, really. To me, that if we ever want professional fishing, whether it be walleye fishing or bass fishing to be mainstream, you gotta make it so it's more accessible to these younger anglers coming up, in my opinion. Because you might have a guy that is just on fire and is full of talent. That this is my fear. You have this kid who's full of talent but doesn't have the money to be able to really showcase his talent, right? Or it's an extra bunch of hurdles to go through. To make this sport healthier, to make bass fishing, competitive bass fishing healthier, and this can even go into walleye fishing, competitive walleye fishing, you got to make things more accessible to those younger anglers to get in to that, to be able to showcase their skills better, easier, so that you can have more of a pool of young anglers with great talent coming in, right? So that's why I think, this tiered system, class system is a good idea. Seeing Jay talk about it there, I agree with him. I think I love all this new technology, but I think when it gets so sophisticated and so expensive, I think the sport of competitive fishing, the sport of competitive walleye fishing those sports could be shooting themselves in the foot by not trying to make, the sport more accessible and a way to do that is to make a tiered system. So that's what I got to say about that. Be interested in hearing what you guys think about that. Send me an email, anglinguploaded@gmail.com. And I'm looking for, right here, anglinguploaded@gmail.com. Just if you've got, I'd love to know what your opinions are on that. Or you're watching this on YouTube, feel free to share your opinions in the comments. But I think just in general, there needs to, young angler. I remember myself very full of piss and vinegar, wanting to be a pro angler on the trail, and knowing then, I mean, this is years and years and years ago, knowing then how expensive it would be. Well, it's so much more expensive than that. So I think finding ways to make it more accessible to young, talented anglers is a key to a healthy sport. Okay? And wrapping up here, let's just get right to some promotional things here, what's going to be happening this week, which is exciting. I like doing these podcasts at the beginning of the week, and then I can kind of promote what's happening with the channel, with Angling Uploaded YouTube channel. Check it out. I also have a great Instagram account, so check out Angling Uploaded on Instagram as well. But primarily, I might still post to Facebook, but as a one-man band here with a lot of this stuff, posting to Facebook it just gets to be too much. I need to focus. I think YouTube, for video, listen, I'm a video guy. YouTube is where it's at. So I'm really concentrating my efforts on YouTube, not doing as much Facebook, and focusing my efforts on Instagram as well. So YouTube, Instagram, Check it out, Angling Uploaded. And what's fun is Wednesday, underwater video. And again, I am going to be doing these underwater videos. This is this video that is coming out on Wednesday. I'm really excited to show you guys the first video that I've ever done in this new tank. It is called, basically the gist of this video is I am testing power bait, some of their ice soft plastics, which they've got a phenomenal, they've just got a ton of offerings now for this power bait ice lineup. And I wanted to highlight some of these different baits, and that's what I did. And so check it out on Wednesday, going up at 5 p.m. Central, Angling Uploaded, the YouTube channel, power bait ice underwater. And I did a lot of different. I'll show you some of these baits here in a minute. But yeah, this is going to be fun because let me find this. Where did I put that? That's the tank again that I'm filming all this stuff in. But for this video on Wednesday, I showcased, using that term a lot, showcased. I showcased the Berkley Fusion 19 tungsten jig heads, and I'll show you this here. I'll get better at directing this show, but it's this little tungsten jig head right here. This Berkley, I got to get the title right here. Berkley Fusion 19 tungsten jig. And for the demonstration of these soft plastics, these Berkley power bait ice soft plastics, I used a 16th ounce Fusion 19 size 5 tungsten jig. And I did a number of baits, but just check it out. Wednesday, that's going up. I'd be interested in, hearing what you guys think of it. I love seeing lures underwater, how they actually work. When you look at them in a package, you're like, that's pretty cool looking, but what does it look like underwater? So that's why I wanted to do this series of videos. And I've the wishbone, the swordtail, the fry. There's a few others I do, so check it out. Excited to do that. And then next week I was actually over at the local tackle shop recently, and so for the following Wednesday, I'm actually probably going to film this tomorrow in the tank. But I bought a Snowdrop XL. This is a clam tungsten jig, and it's a 16th ounce. I think that's probably a good size to kind of demonstrate these soft plastics, these little micro ice soft plastics. But this is going to be, I'm going to probably film this tomorrow, and it's going to be for next Wednesday, so a week from now. So not this coming Wednesday, but the next Wednesday, I'm going to be focusing on Mackie plastics. So Clam's Mackie line of hand-poured soft plastics baits. These baits are really, really great. They were one of the first to really get detailed, maybe the first to get really detailed on their small little ice fishing soft plastics. So I'm going to be highlighting some of their soft plastics like the minnow head, and here's another one, the whammy, but we'll be doing that. I'll be filming that tomorrow to be released, to be uploaded for a week from now, basically, a week and a couple days. So that's the plan there. I got a fishing video coming up on Friday, I just want to make sure that I'm covering everything here as I'm directing this video here using the wonderful software Ecamm Live. Can't recommend it enough. Yeah, so this video is coming up on Friday, and there he is. My long-lost buddy, Pete Wagner, is joining me for this one. Kind of a surprise, but we went to Red Wing and did a little open water fishing in the winter. There is a warm water discharge on the Mississippi River at Red Wing, in Red Wing, Minnesota. It's upstream of there, and it keeps this warm water discharge from a nuclear power plant keeps the river open for quite some distance. And so you're able to fish walleyes because of special regulations all year long on the river. And it's really something to be able to do that in January, February. You know, can you do it in February? I think you can do it in February. I'm trying to remember. Yeah. It's all year long. So check your regulations first, okay, guys? Because I've only done it in December and November and January is when I've done this. So February, I'm not sure. Check your regulations. Every place on the Mississippi, not every place, but there's different stretches of the Mississippi that have different regulations. Red Wing is a border water, so one side is Wisconsin, the other side is Minnesota. So regulations are different there. So just make sure if you want to try this, you check your regulations. But what's fun is that you can go out and fish open water in the winter for walleyes, and that's what Pete and I did. It's a test to see which is better. Pete's using live bait. I'm using artificials. Who's going to win? Check it out Friday. That video goes up at 5 p.m. All right, so that's 5 p.m. Central on Angling Uploaded, our YouTube channel. And again, I want to make a real plea here, okay, that we got to get Pete Wagner back on this podcast, all right? He is an integral part. I don't want to be doing these alone. It's much better to have him with me doing these. So tell him that in an email, okay, send an email to me, anglinguploaded@gmail.com. Tell Pete why he needs to come back and tell him that he's sorely missed. And it'll be better for me because it's not easy to host this all by myself. It'd be so much better to have Pete right alongside me to do this. So send a real heartfelt email to Pete at anglinguploaded@gmail.com and tell him that we miss him and want him back. All right? So there it is. That's a wrap up. I don't think there's anything else I need to talk about here. I've enjoyed it. It's going to be a great year. Happy New Year, everybody. Ice fishing's in full swing, and I am going to get after it. So ice fishing videos coming, underwater videos coming. Happy 2023, guys. It's going to be fun.